All right, let's begin. What's up, guys? We are live. This is Wednesday, 7th period, and I'm not going to do exactly the same pattern as last quarter where I did a live video every Wednesday and every Thursday, but I'll pretty much do that, and I'll spread out to do a few things on the other days as well. And if you don't watch it live, I've got a couple people. It says 2 viewers. That's totally fine. We will just have the same link you can click on to watch the archived version later. So today I'm going to answer questions because not last quarter, but before the break at the beginning of this quarter, I assigned these two things, the advanced HTML and CSS CodeHS stuff, where the first one was fine. I didn't get too many questions about that. And then the second one, I got a lot of questions. A lot of people tried, and then they really just got stuck on something where they said, I don't know what they're going for, I don't know what they mean. So I wanted to open up 1 or 2 of those and review it with you instead of answering 10 people's questions. I can just show it once, and then if anybody emails me, I can say, hey, here's a link to the video, instead of trying to describe it in text, which that didn't work. Earlier I was like trying to write an email to somebody, like, oh, you're going to look on the left and click this box, and it wasn't happening. So let's pick one of these. I've done them before, so I don't remember if it'll save or if I'll have to type that stuff again. It's probably better if it didn't, so that you'll see me type it again. But let's click on this one, which is the middle-ish of that multi-file website lesson. So this is really nothing new. Every website we've done has been a multi-file website. We've got a little bit of HTML, a little bit of JavaScript, a little bit of CSS, and in the chatbot we've had another one, which is the Rivet Script. So it's totally standard and totally something we're used to. It's just the fact that most of those were templates that were like part of a project where you make your own version, but you don't start it from scratch. You already had a basic setup, where on some of these it's like, hey, make a file or take this blank one and add in the good stuff. So we're making very simple things that are less than what we've been doing. It's just that you're starting from the beginning and doing that hard part. So this is about adding a style sheet where it's got like text, some bullet points, and some images, and we're going to arrange those in a certain way. I think it's going to say like make one thing blue and make another thing a certain size, and so we're going to do that. So first, adding files. Okay, we're going to learn how to do that. And if you do stuff on Replit, which most of our projects have been on Replit, it's one click. It's like, this isn't a website, this is a Python thing, but if you click, boom, add file, it's right there. That wasn't a good snap. Let me try again. I don't know. But on CodeHS, it is a similar thing. It's just 2 clicks. I think you have to do here. Yeah, and then you have to hit new. And it has saved. It looks like it saved what I did when I was showing this to somebody. So I don't have to make another one. But you will hit new, and then you'll hit file, and then you'll type something dot something. In this case, it says make it called style.css, so you have to follow what they want because that's what they're asking for. Question? Yes. I'm going to hit cancel because I already did it, but I did this once. New file style.css. Okay, and then it will add it to the side here in this little left column. And luckily with CSS, you don't need like a header and a bunch of setup info at the beginning. You know, sometimes with code you need to have like a couple lines that are just standard formatting or whatever. Like if you make an HTML file, you need sort of the head and the body and the structure of it. But with CSS, you really don't. You can just start from a blank file. And so let's go to the assignment. You're not going to see me type it because I've done it before when I was showing this to someone else. And it's I wish there was a button to like start over, but I don't think there is. So 1, add a CSS file name style.css. Great. What was the next thing? Check code. File.css. Yes. Okay. The next thing it asked you for was all images should be 100 by 100. So where do we do that? In our CSS, you can type a couple different things. Okay, so you can go by ID, for example, anything, or you can go by ID is not a good example because it's just one thing, but you can go by class. So if you name things as a certain class, you can say, oh, everything of this class is green, or everything of this class is a certain size. Okay, or you can go by tags. So like in HTML, you have tags like img or font or a for links and things like that. And if you just put a tag and then whatever you put after it is going to apply to all of them. So if I put img and then if I put this little curly bracket, it would fill in the rest. So if I have img curly bracket, it's going to make a blank line and it's going to make the second curly bracket for you. And then you're going to type what it asks for, the dimensions. So unfortunately, you have to do it twice. You can't say like the dimensions are 100 by 100. You have to do height is 100, separate line, width is 100. Okay, so I would type height, colon, I put a space, it doesn't matter, you don't have to put a space. And then 100 px means 100 pixels. This is adjusted by color, so if you don't get these colors to pop up, if it doesn't have like the 100 in a dark blue and the px in a purple, then you'll know that you're missing something. And usually what people miss when they're practicing with this is the semicolon at the end. Okay, it's a pretty common thing in a couple different languages to have a semicolon at the end of a line. For example, in JavaScript, this page does not have JavaScript, but we've seen a few that do. And in JavaScript, you put a semicolon at the end of a line in order to show that, hey, this is the end of a statement. The next thing is a new thing. Not every language does that. Like I just showed a Python thing a second ago. Python does not have that. If you hit enter and make a new line, then that's signaling that it is a new thing. So in order to fulfill this part of the assignment, all images should be 100 by 100. You type img curly bracket, hit enter. It'll fill in the second curly bracket. And you type height colon 100 px, width colon 100 px with a semicolon after each one to show that it's the end of a statement. Okay, and the spacing doesn't really matter. You could add a couple blank lines or whatever. It's looking for the semicolon to know when is the end, so the placement is a little less important than it would be in some other languages. Then it says all li tags should have the font size 24. Okay, li is a list. In this case, it's the one that shows up as a bullet point. Where's the run? So like right here, we see these bullet points in the text. Those are LIs in the HTML, where it says LI and then the content, and then you /LI to end that one and you start a new one. This is you can also use it for other things. So for example, this UL means unordered list. You can do an ordered list that has numbers instead of bullets, and you can, do a couple different versions of that. But in general, if I say LI and then something in the curly brackets, that's going to apply to all of them through the whole page. And it asks for font size 24px. And I remember when I was typing that, I couldn't quite remember. I was like, oh, do you say size? Or do you say font size with a space? Or do you say font size with a hyphen? I couldn't quite remember, and I could have just guessed until it worked. But if you go to this little tab up here that says Docs, it's not Google Docs, it just means documentation, like sort of the manual of all the stuff you might want to look up. Then you can click on what you got to do. And so I went to CSS and I scrolled down to font and I clicked on that. And it says, hey, here are some of the examples of things you would use. Font size with a hyphen, font family with a hyphen. It looks like that's the pattern. Anything that's 2 words is going to have a hyphen between it. And now I'm going to go with that. Whenever I'm in doubt, I would go, oh, what do I do for CSS? It's probably a hyphen between any little 2-word attribute. So I hit the same thing as I did in the other one. I hit font size : 24 px, meaning pixel, and then a semicolon to show the end of the line, and a curly bracket to end this section, but it would have already filled that in for you automatically. And it lets you get away with a little bit of variation. Like if you take off the space, it still works. If you add in extra spaces, it still works. It doesn't have to be like 1000% exactly this, but that's the idea for this one. Okay, I'm going to bring up the next one because if I remember right, the next one was a little more complicated. I'm also going to move my webcam. My thing is in the bottom right. I'm going to move it to the bottom left to avoid covering up anything. So you see the actual effect that this had, by the way, which is the size of these bullets is matched to what we put, and all of these images are the same. They're 100 by 100, regardless of how they started. They might have started all the same as each other, or they might have started all different, but they're all adjusted now to match what we said. And this is more efficient than we could have just said, like, height equals 100, width equals 100, and then go to the next line. Height equals 100, width equals 100, and we could have done that for every single one of these. But when you do it in the CSS, you do it once and it applies blanket to them all, which is nice in terms of saving you time, but it's also nice in terms of what if you want to change it later? What if we wanted to make them 150? If I had to go and change every single one down the line, that would be annoying, but if I change one thing once, then it filters through and gets them all, so that's a bit nicer. Let me close this and open one of the other ones. If I remember right, there was one of these that had some pretty difficult stuff that people were asking about. Just takes a minute to load. Yeah, I think this is the one I was thinking of. I got a couple people emailed me about this before the break, and I told them, hey, I'll just make a video. So that's what we're doing. So this is saying your website is going to have more than one page. Like not more than one file, but more than one thing that can be displayed, that you click a link to, you know. So those are going to be the .htmls. And in one, it's going to say, hey, click this link to go to this other one, click this link to go back to the home, etc. You've seen that in real life, of course. And that means they're both going to use the same CSS. So in the previous example, I said it's efficient because if you set the rules, then it's going to affect all of them in a page. But now if you set the rules, it's going to affect all of them through multiple pages, which is really nice because what if we wanted to change something? We just change it once and it filters through instead of having to dig through all of our code and all of these files. That would be a bad situation. Okay. And then it's going to give us some things to do. Let's hit let's go. And like I said, I think this is going to be done because I think I did this when I was showing people. So you're not going to see me type it, but we'll go through the assignment here and check to see what it was asking for. So you should have a file named compiled.html. You will probably have to click here, click new, and then make it and say compiled.html. Okay. And then once you have it, you got to give it the content. It'll probably start out blank. It might, does it start off with like HTML head body, or does it start completely empty? I don't remember. But what you can do, instead of just typing that, okay, then what I would recommend is just go to the other one and copy it. Just go to the other thing and say, hey, blah, blah, blah. And it'll save you 10 seconds. Not the biggest deal in the world, but that's what I would recommend. You should have one called scripting.html. Okay, we got both of those. You should have file name style.css. Again, same thing here. You click this guy, you click new, and then you give it a name. And then index should have 2 links. Index is the one that was there. Like when you open this and you haven't done it yet, it starts with index, and then you have to make the other ones. So that should have 2 links, and you can make classic A tag links. But remember in the past when we've done links with an href, you would have to give like a real URL, like http://www blah blah. When you're linking to another page in the same folder, you just say the name of the file. So you can just say compiled.html. Okay, that's a lot easier when you're linking to a local, target. So then you put the text after that initial A tag, the text that will display, and then you close the A tag. And that's going to output something like this, where you get your compiled and your scripting. And they're both clickable, and they take you to that page. Okay, yours might not have the stuff in the back to index yet, but they're both clickable, and they take you to that thing. Okay, so now we'll go to test cases again. Compiled should have 1 link, and that one goes back to the home page. Okay, so it's going to say back to home or back to index. And then again, you don't have to mention a full URL. You just say the name of the file, index.html. And if you are really wanting to save time, you type one of these and then you copy this, Control C, go over here, Control C, and just change a little bit each time instead of typing. You might want to type it just to get into the habit, but these are super short lines anyway. It's not a big difference. So both of these have 1 link back to home. They don't link to each other, although that wouldn't be too hard. And then it says compiled should have 4 li tags with a list. And honestly, the theme of this is like inducing you to write some content, but you don't have to. Okay, when it says you should have 4 li tags, you can just say here's one, here's another, and it doesn't matter what's inside of them. The CodeHS is just looking for, do you have stuff in the list? And scripting should have 6 things in a list. And then now finally back to CSS, list tag should have a font of 18, and all you do is say list, font size 18, done. Somewhere in the other ones it asks for body, font family stuff, but you can see that. This one was a little hard. I remember having to look up the light sea green thing, but remember, you go to docs, you scroll down, you click your guy. I'm going to end this now because it's getting a little bit long, but let me know if you have questions on the rest. Where's my thing? Where's my... Sure.